I want to dive into where we last left off, but I would be remiss if I didn't note that I just was at least breezing through. I didn't have a chance to carefully read it yet, but read most of what is a nearly 10,000 word essay you just wrote, among other topics on your experience using ayahuasca in Mexico and reconciling that, or even comparing that or informing that with your Catholic faith. And given that you put so much into that article, I thought it might even have some, let's just say, atmospheric relationships to the discussion we're about to have on immigration. But I thought I'd give you a chance to summarize that conversation that you had with your audience about your experience of going into tribal regions of Mexico and trying ayahuasca and what that entailed. So maybe you could say a word about what motivated you to write that piece.
Yeah, I mean, the motivation was there's this great explosion right now of questions about psychedelic medicine as an alternative to the conventional psychiatric care, which is failing Americans in many respects. The system, the conventional mental health system, gorges itself on some $225 billion annually, and the rates of misery are only going up as things aren't being solved. But so there's this idea that that indigenous peoples of the Americas hit upon these treatments, including ayahuasca, that are um, a way to overcome trauma and so on. So I went with kind of curiosity about that. And I have to say, I don't have an easy answer to say yes. It's great because first of all, as you mentioned, and we discussed last time, I'm a Catholic, and when I went, I didn't realize there was a whole ceremonial aspect to it, and I had to really struggle to think, can I even participate in this ceremonial dimension? Because does that violate the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other god before me. And so I found a kind of a compromise where I would be at the ceremony and I would drink the juice or the potion, but I would not kind of participate in anything that's kind of ritual or sacramental. um, and then the and the trip, as it were, itself was, absolutely terrifying. To be honest, everything they say is true. It's the people say it's the five hardest hours of your life. This kind of ego battering experience, and I certainly felt that. And at the end of it, you feel very good because it takes you to like purgatory and then brings you
Hmm.
out, and you're sort of like, wow, I love life. I get. That said, I wouldn't easily recommend it, even though I've heard that,
Hmm.
look, there are studies that show that it helps with PTSD, anxiety, depression, and other things like that. But it's a hard thing. And then for me, I mean, there's this kind of complexity that I grappled with, and I'm not even sure I'm fully happy with how I resolved it. I feel like I participated in like another religion ceremony in a way that is
Hmm.
prohibited to Christians, and I'm something that I'm racked with. But I try to work it out in 10,000 words and just lay out what my thoughts were. So that might be the best
Yeah.
way to summarize something so long.